Welcome to the Stretch to Go podcast. My name is Ian Ray, your host. Today I have Madlen, founder of Muki Shoes, based out of Porto, Portugal. Madlen, welcome to the Stretch to Go podcast.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Yes, I would love to hear you share your story of how you founded Muki Shoes. What was your inspiration behind it?
Muki Shoes started, or the idea, before being Muki Shoes, the idea started in like 2015, 2014, 2015. Yes. It was really the co-founder Marta, a friend of mine. We were sitting at the kitchen table, both having small kids, discussing footwear. I was already into barefoot shoes, or more like into walking barefoot since ever. I loved it, and the first barefoot shoes I tried were like kind of sock style with a sole. And I remember people calling attention, "Hey, you're leaving the house with your socks." And I'm like, "No, no, these are shoes." And I felt like, okay, they are cool. I love the feeling of it, but maybe something more casual would be great. And yeah, I was just discussing that with Marta. Marta in that time was working in the textile industry already as a textile designer. So she had like all the know-how for fabrics, designing. And then it was really, the next thought was, we're here in Portugal. We have plenty of connections and people and materials around to make amazing shoes. So we should get into that. And the first time we spoke about it, it was like we got really enthusiastic about it. But on the other hand, we didn't know, like, none of us ever worked in footwear before, like design, yes, but could we do shoes? So all the time we met, we were talking about the ideas, but it took us another like couple of months till we really started. Let's look for a factory. Let's see if it would be possible for us to do. Yeah, we met an amazing manufacturer. Like the first contacts we had were like, this is not really a shoe. What you want to do, I think we can't do really what you're having. And then we met our still actual manufacturer, and he was like super excited, saying like, "Oh, that sounds like great. Let's try it. Let's do some prototypes." And we started the process of the prototype while we both, Marta and me, working still in other things, you know. So it was like side project. It took us more or less 1 year to have the sole and the first prototypes that were like that we could show to other people, because the first prototypes was just like something hanging and we're like, oh my god, maybe we're not going to move on. Uh, so with lots of ups and downs, manufacturer that was like, oh, like, because we had to reinvent. While barefoot shoes are commonly known, and you would go anywhere now in Portugal to some manufacturers and everybody heard already of barefoot shoes. But in that time, it was, nobody knew what are barefoot shoes, what does it mean. And some people told us, that's really uncomfortable. You really want to do a shoe like that? Why? This will never sell. And even our manufacturer that went on the journey with us, he believed somehow that it would be interesting, but he after told us that he was skeptic, that he was like, he was more like, oh, you were so sympathetic and I wanted to support you. But I didn't know that we would actually really sell so many pairs of shoes at some point. So yeah, and then came the formation of the brand. When we finally understood, we knew that we wanted to start with a crowdfunding, because it was like not just like the investment, covering of the investment, but also it was like it's an amazing chance also to see what people want to, what kind of models they would be interested in, and yeah, how the market reacts. And then the formation of the brand, as it was Marta and me, we felt really like, okay, this is a women-led company. And we were researching a lot about barefoot shoes in that time, and about like also the Tarahumara tribe of the barefoot running. And in our like deep searches somewhere in like profound internet, we were actually reading a lot about this tribe. And The name Muki came because in their language it means women. And we felt, okay, that makes really, besides of the sound and the way how it is written, is it was beautiful and aesthetically appealing for us. Yeah. Then with this meaning, we felt like, okay, that's it. And yeah, it came. There was Muki Shoes was born, and it was like around 2000. Yeah, 2017.
Okay, that's awesome. I love that you guys thoughtfully came up with the name. It has a meaning behind it,
Yes.
which most hopefully most companies do have a story, a meaning, because that's what you're going to be representing for throughout the whole time with your audience and your customers. So that's awesome. I noticed you have a logo. Is there a logo of
Yes.
Muki? Yes.
We have our logo. That's it's our at the three circles. And when we came up with it, it was because I think our brand had always two pillars. It was not just like the barefoot shoe concept, but it was also because Marta was already working in the textile industry, and for us, sustainability was always a big importance in that because the access to materials that are non-toxic, starting if you want to walk barefoot, if you want to it's like a connection, and we felt there is a necessity, the deep necessity that then also you're in contact with natural materials that are non-toxic, that you can slip in barefoot, that you like for yourself, you're taking it, yeah, like our slogan of conscious steps. It's a conscious step. It's like you're stepping on nature and with nature, So for us, it was a kind of full cycle, a circle. And these three circles also, yeah, represent this meaning. And the inspiration was actually the rings from the trees, the tree rings. And we did actually also some stamps and because we both like a lot the manual work and we did tried some stamps, but as a logo, it was too complex. So we reduced it. But like in the whole designing process, we're doing stamps with trees, and yeah, this was all the inspiration behind the logo, and we ended up more minimally with just the three circles, but yeah, this is the meaning behind.
Is that the same? Is that the same with your tattoo?
Yeah, somehow
Yes.
the circles.
Yes, no, that is such a great. It's a great branding for you,
Thank you.
So because for me tattoos, like I say, also share stories. So why not? People ask, hey, what is that? Hey, let me tell you. So it's such a you guys are very thoughtful in the way that you're putting your brand together, and it's something that I think it's amazes me even for myself as I have my practice. I think you always have to think, what am I representing? What are my values? And so it's great that you guys have that and that you're working harmoniously together. And this is such a beautiful thing. So let's kind of dive in as far as the aspect. I know we're already talking about your shoes and your design, but help us. Did you guys start first with adult shoes or did you guys start with kid shoes first?
We started with adult shoes, even though our first thought was doing shoes for our children. But as we were new into creating shoes and designing shoes, we felt like we can't do it if we don't test it ourselves. So we did the first prototype my size because Marta was like, you have to do it first because you have a lot more experience of how it should feel. She was new to barefoot shoes. She always liked the concept, but her thing was always more like the design of the textiles and choosing the materials, even though she quickly fell in love as well. Before she was a dancer, she had some knee issues and she was like, oh no, that makes all sense now. Um, and yeah, so the initial plan was the kid shoes, then came the adult shoes, and we couldn't do everything at the same time. So we first started with the adult shoes, and it took us another 2 years to create the kid shoes with all the testing and developing. It's quite a long process. You can't, at least for us, till everything is on spot. It takes always like from the first idea, from the first sketch to the final product. I would say it's always like almost 2 years. Yeah. So it took us 2 years after launching the adult shoes to go into the kid shoes.
Your with the type of shoes that you guys have. I know Portugal, I'm assuming, is one of the well sought places to manufacture and produce quality shoes. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. How do you typically find a like your manufacturer? Like, what are some of the things that you're looking for in manufacturers that says this is this is the concept I want? You know that you guys are happily with your product. So, like, how do you find a good manufacturer, someone that's willing to work with you guys?
Yeah, that's in the beginning it was really difficult. And for us it was really important to have also kind of it's almost kind of intuition because we went into some factories that were big, they had like a lot of production capacity and they would present us the catalog of that's what we can do. But they were also pushing a lot of this is what we want to do. And then we
Mm,
came and said, no, we don't like show like, we don't want any stabilizers on the back here, not on the front. They need to be super, super flexible. And they were like, yeah, yeah, okay. Did a prototype and we got like, we asked for this and we got something stiff, rigid. And so we also saw like what are their kind of availability of testing and trying out new things with us. And some were like really close and didn't want to go into that adventure, and others were a lot more with progressive mindset of like, hey, let's try something new. And the manufacturer that we found, it was interesting because they had in that time a really tiny factory, like a really small 15 workers, something like that. And they just like embraced us in a way. It felt straight away like kind of family. Um, the yeah, the person that is leading the enterprise is like working with the workers, helping out, really testing when we have a problem. It's not just delegating to others like, I'll do that better or something. No, it felt really like, okay, this is a family project, it's a family enterprise. And we felt we are a small brand compared to big footwear brands, and we felt we needed this close relationship and a family environment also to feel comfortable for us, because sometimes you even get like, am I asking too much? Like we're already in the 10th prototype and we're still not happy. So definitely for us, this familiar ambient was something that gave us comfort and confidence to always move on.
so, where do you get you guys' inspiration for creating your type of models of the shoes? Because I know you guys seem to have a way that you are, sorry, creating shoes per season. So you're not mass producing it, but it's in a way that you've scheduled your time to release these shoes in the seasons, the collection that you have. So what's your guys' thought process, inspirations for creating?
I think first comes the material. We find materials. Marta and me, we're both. I think the design process is still our favorite. So, besides, of course, having all the other obligations of running a company, the design process is like what we're looking for and what we have like weekly meetings, Marta and me, and we really created that space for us where we're just the two of us. And then we start to first comes always the material. We see like what kind of material do we want to use. Important is like where it comes from. Then we always try to look for small, locally sourced natural materials, or how can we recycle something. We work with dead stocks. We built up a connection with that stock suppliers, and yeah, and then it starts with a messy table with loads of materials, and we start to look into what kind of colors combinations we lay it, and it's a quite a chaotic process. When we have the materials, then we try to see the models. Where can we apply which materials to which model? What does it make sense? Are we in summer season? Are we in winter season? What are the necessities? More water protection, lighter materials for summer, breathability, all these things that also we get from the client's feedback and what do we want to test. So sometimes we just send like we get a new material or we fall in love with something. We just send it to the manufacturer and say like, can you do us this on a shoe? Let's test it. What is the resistance? And I think then it's also a lot of need, like our personal need. We test, we see what works in which kind of model. What do we ourselves want? I think Marta and me in that we kind of I really it seems like that we share a common cloud because sometimes I say like, oh, we really need to do this or that or move on into this direction. Say, oh, I thought exactly the same, and still after so many years, kind of like after 10 years, still having that this working in a symphony that we're really feeling that's great for us. But still, sometimes I say, oh, this color, I would prefer this color. And she's like, oh, it's not my color. I don't. But these are just the little things. And the inspiration comes from this need, from our personal need, from the team that gives feedback, but also our clients that tell us, in the beginning, making more water repellent shoes was started to become a necessity. And we're like, okay, we have to search materials that are still go with our values, natural, biodegradable. Where can we look? Can we source something locally? But this, we feel that we are also kind of researchers. We have to
Hmm.
do a lot of research work. Where does it come from? And questioning and where can we improve? And also doing some mistakes. We got like once a dead stock material. We fell in love and we used it for a lining and we tested the uppers. Everything was done. And we completely forgot to test the lining. We sent it to the manufacturer. We got hundreds of pairs of children's shoes. We sent them out and a couple of days later complaints because the lining was staining all the socks. So it was like they forgot to fix the colors. We had to give them back. Some people were like, no, don't worry. So, always in this learning process, okay, not, we have to, all materials need to be tested and yeah, I think the inspiration is kind of in balance of like what our with feedback, our personal needs, and then the materials that bring all the that kind of spark a lot of creativity in us. And the models we have always the same, being really like being minimal is like they need to be very flexible, the materials, and this the sole needs to be really flexible, and we want to feel the ground beneath us. I mean, there's meanwhile a lot of other brands that focus on having a bit more thicker sole, but for us it's still really, really important to be as close to the ground as possible.
I know you guys came out with a new outsole. Is that correct?
Yes.
With your model, kind of explain to us what made you guys decide to change your outsole. Was it just through trial and run, or was it feedback from people? There's like, hey, let's see what you guys can do. But tell us.
Yeah, I mean the first outsole, and it's not even. I think I wouldn't call it change the outsole. It was more like it's an addition.
Hmm.
We have our classic outsole, the first outsole that we designed 16, and we love the outsole. It's amazing. It's super, super flexible and it's really nice. It's super resistant. We even do have a resoling program that we can run, but we're surprised like how long the shoes last also with very intensive use. Um, what made us think about like having an additional sole, now, so our Nova sole, was the first thing we wanted something a bit higher because in comparison the the it was a style option. We wanted a bit of a different look, more sneaker style, like urban fashion. And also with being higher, we could have a different possibility of gluing them onto the shoe so that we don't need to necessarily stitch these ones. With these ones, with our test, we really have to stitch because it's very low. And if we wouldn't stitch it, just gluing, it wouldn't have the same resistance. So this was a big of our focus because we wanted to have the possibility of not stitching them to not create an entrance for water. And then was a style option also. And while we did it, as we had some feedback of some clients, could you look also into a bit of wider option? So we're like, okay, let's combine these new features into a new sole. Yeah, and this year, after another almost 2 years of development, another sole got ready with a new look, bit more chunky, bit higher. Yeah.
Well, I know for a fact that you guys your shoes do have the component of the flexibility, the zero drop, the wide toe box. Obviously, you can feel it. I mean, with taking out the insoles, or even with the insole, you can still feel the ground. So definitely that feel. But kind of tell us what makes your products unique. You probably did hit on a lot of it. That's you're making this with non-toxic material. It's locally sourced, but what's your proud moment of your uniqueness of Muki shoes?
I think, yeah, really unique. I find in the context of nowadays manufacturing processes that it's really locally sourced. Our headquarters are in Porto, and the factory is 35 minutes from our headquarters. And all this, it's we speak. It's all in the distance of 40 kilometers. So, and a lot of materials are sourced also close around. Like we have wool from the Portuguese mountains. It's another 2 hours drive from here. So, but I think this in the actual context where textiles and shoes and clothes travel sometimes continents back and forward to do to add a label, and then goes back to Asia, comes back to Europe, and from Brazil comes the cotton, or Africa comes the cotton, goes to Bangladesh, goes to the States. So all this closeness of like being really next to each other, I think probably we're the only brand, the only barefoot shoe brand that does that has this closeness. And then I find, the flexibility is something that we're really proud of. That we can really make a shoe that is like can be really, really, really smooth. And the working with natural materials, I find that also for us, like really going close, like looking what can we use. Organic cotton, linen, leather, dead stocks. So having non-toxic materials. That's also. So I think all this as a blend makes Muki Shoes special.
So from the time that you started Muki Shoes with Marta, how have you guys grown from the time that you first started to currently the way it is? In what ways has Muki Shoes grown?
Yeah, we grew a lot in the last years. Like we started, and it was really very, very small, tiny little company. And our setup was also planned to be so. In the beginning, we would stamp all the boxes personally and sign them and write a little message. And then after some times, we understood, okay, we can't just do that anymore. So it was just Marta and me doing everything in the beginning. We would respond to the messages, we would send the shoes out. But yeah, quickly we understood, okay, it's kind of impossible to continue that way. It filled us a bit with sadness because we liked also these small little details. But yeah, there was just not enough time for doing everything. And then with the pandemic, we thought, okay, will we survive? What's going to happen with the world? And it was crazy because we were lucky because we got all our collection before the factory shut down, and people were like crazy. It was really a surprise because it was incredible support, and we grew massively in that time. So that we had also some with like the growth came with some growing pain. Definitely, our website couldn't support anymore all the sales. We had to redo the website. we needed more people, we needed a bigger warehouse. Um, we so all at the same time, we ran out of stock quickly. We put a new collection out. We didn't know how many shoes we needed. We sold out first 24 hours. Some products we're like, oh my God, calling the factories, can we produce again? And it's like, but it takes another month or two. We're giving our best. So yeah, so the time between 2020 and 2022, it was crazy because yeah, all this adaptation process wasn't easy. And we were running, so like a lot of these our favorite tasks like designing was difficult to maintain the creative process. We really had to force us, like that's when the time came when we said really, okay, we need weekly meetings to not forget about that, because we're just also run over by all these administrative tasks. And yeah, so and then in 2023, 2024, we felt, okay, now things are getting again back to control. And that's when we started also being able again designing new models, starting not just to, yeah, having just the daily task of like, okay, this needs to run, this needs to work, website, logistics. Yeah, we had to redefine all these logistics parts, because from sending out a couple of parcels, and suddenly all this needed to be automatic. We couldn't process that manually anymore. And it was quite an adventure. But yeah, super happy because we keep getting a lot of positive feedback. And I think, yeah, it's it's really great. And also, we try still to maintain our small company spirit, like having a close connection with the team. Yeah, not just like growing into the infinite, maintaining our values of also making small batches of certain models, because it's just the limitations of the materials. We
Mhm.
don't want to push till an infinite and start into this thinking process of like, oh, just to sell more shoes, we need to change, for example, a supplier that is really valuable for us. That was never an option.
Yeah, I think I've heard of, with the fast fashion of, let's say like these bigger corporations that can just make cheap quality, materials or products. And then of course it goes to the wasteland. So what you guys are doing, you're trying to make that sustainability and make sure it lasts long. So I assume that there's a lot of, like I said, thought processes working together as your team to say, hey, how can we make this product last? Your shoes, especially. So that seems to be a growing thing, especially in the barefoot shoes, because yes, there are probably brands who just to create massively a lot of qualities, but the quality of the product probably will deteriorate over time. So I love it. I mean, I was mentioning to you know people that are clients, you when you're first getting into barefoot shoes, maybe to jump in before, seriously, you could try some lesser quality to make sure you're okay with it. And then you can eventually go into something that's more quality, worth the buck, because they last long, So I think for, entry level, you can find cheaper value. But if you want quality that look good, function well, I think then you can probably go into brands that have tailors to your sweetness, to your taste. So um, and that's another thing too. I was asking, I want to ask you is where do you see the barefoot shoes industry growing in the future? You've been doing this for quite a while,
Yeah,
but there weren't a lot of brands probably who were doing barefoot shoes, but now there are plenty. So where do you see it evolving in the future?
I think definitely that the interest will grow. We see already bigger like industries, like fashion, even fast fashion companies started to do now produce barefoot shoes. So I think the interest is growing and will continue to grow. It was a kind of niche before, but with different styles and models, and people just like get into it and will definitely request that more. It starts with the kids now because if we see the graphics, it all makes sense. Nah? It's not something that we see and it's like, or maybe, it's not a supplement. I can really see, if I have some squeezed toes in a shoe, and I see the splayed ones next to it, I understand it. This is something that is not doesn't cost too much imagination of like, oh, this promised me forever youth or health. No, it's not. It's not just something you have to believe in. It's something that is there. It's graphically, it's visible. The development. So I think it starts always with the kids. We want that they grow healthy. And then we come to the conclusion, okay, let's try it for ourselves. And then we figure out, okay, it's nice, it's light, I go into work and I don't feel I have to drag myself. My legs don't get so heavy at the end of the day. So these small little benefits that people, I think that it's kind of exclusive thing, no, but I see that it's growing and like maybe every woman has some trainers and a pair of high heels. Maybe people will also have a pair of barefoot shoes at home. And I think this is great, I think it's great that people um get into that. And I think having more brands is also amazing because it grows the movement. The movement grows and more people are aware of it. For us, for example, as a brand, our focus is not solely on the barefoot shoes because we also have a different concept. We felt that for us it benefits us. It's exactly like you say, some people might have the financial impasse of straight away investing. It's like, oh, let me first try it, like maybe I don't even like it. um but they will come to us at one point and say like, oh, I like your style, or I wanted something that lasts longer. So for us also, maybe I already grab a question, a future question of yours, but like where it, then I think also for us it means we have to, as a brand, work on new models, on different styles to satisfy also this kind of needs, because the barefoot shoe market, we will see different brands, different little brands that then will maybe merge into something bigger. Our goal is to kind of maintain, I mean, we want to have a slow, small, gradually steady growth, but we like the flexibility and the possibility of making small batches. Like I showed before, it's like a little small collection with some dead stock leather with a little cow pattern that we will launch soon in next week. No, 2 weeks. No, next week actually. Yeah, next week. So these kind of projects that are really in our these are special dear projects to us. And then for us, it's not the goal of growing huge because we feel then we don't have this possibility anymore. And so it's great that there's other brands that can do that, that can deliver maybe more financially accessible products for others. But I see in general the movement growing, and it still has a lot long path to go, and I find it great. Like in the beginning, nobody knew what was a barefoot shoe. We would go and present ourselves in some sustainable markets and fairs, and sometimes I told my colleague it seemed like we swallowed a tape. We always explaining what are barefoot shoes. Now we go and we don't have to explain that anymore. Like in 80% of the cases, people heard already about it. Maybe they didn't even try it, but they know already what is the concept. They heard of it. And we say this is all happening in the last 3-4 years. So for me, this is a sign that we're on the right path, that what we're doing is something that that we can still, this a path that we can walk still for a long time, and that we're part of something bigger, a movement, and that feels great.
Yeah, I think you guys continue to be authentic, and keep it small so that you are really presenting and representing the values and cores that you guys have. I think that'll speak large volume for many people. And so I applaud you for that. That's great. I really do hope that with the many collections that you guys are coming up with and new releases, hopefully more people will be interested in your products and your shoes. So I would love to have you share with the audience how people can learn more about what you're doing at Muki Shoes. So whether if it's social media, an email, and website, or any way to just reach out and interact with you guys.
Yep, we're here to receive all questions and contacts. Thank you.
Yes. So what's the best way that people can reach out to you guys? Sorry, if you want to share those information.
However, through the website, email, social media, we have it all covered. So, what is most convenient for the people?
Perfect. Thank you again for hopping onto the podcast and learning more about the thought process, the origin of Muki Shoes. I think it's great. Like I said, putting together a face to the brand. It just makes it so just a story. It helps people to know, why you guys are doing this and the mission. So thank you again, Madlen, for hopping onto the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes. And for those of you listening, don't forget to subscribe to the Stretch to Go podcast, where we release new episodes every Friday, 7 a.m. Eastern. Thanks again, everyone. Have a good one.
Thank
Bye bye.
you. Bye.